Hi, I'm your host Kelly Bowen, and you are listening to the Lifestyle Finance Australia show, which is dedicated to creating greater awareness about the power of leveraging finance when it comes to accelerating your growth and personal development. And we celebrate the hundreds of coaches, thought leaders, and game changers we support. This is a platform where you can meet some of the world's best experts in online business, trauma healing, digital marketing, relationship coaching, abundance and wealth creation, spiritual ascension, body healing, and wellness. So if you're looking for your next coach, healer, or mentor to take you on the next step in your journey, this is the show for you. Let's play. Welcome, beautiful souls, to episode number 3 of the Lifestyle Finance Show. Today, I have the amazing goddess queen, Allie May, with me, who, gosh, we've been on such a journey together. We've been in so many different spaces, and it's such a privilege and an honor to have you on the show and share you with my listeners so that if they're looking for support with getting skilled in NLP or completely changing their relationship with reality as in its totality, like, you are the absolute queen goddess to go to. So Allie, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Kelly, and hello to all of you beautiful souls.
Amazing. So tell me a little, because I know like that you can do NLP and then you can do NLP. And when you do NLP with you, it is like this total immersion, transformation, retreat style, incredible experience. Tell me a little bit about, like, one, what is NLP? Why do you love it? And then what is it that you do? And why have you chosen to do it in such an immersion and so differently?
Amazing. Thank you. 3 questions in one, Kelly. You want me to...
do you want me to write them down?
Hang on. Let me get one. What was the first one? So what is NLP? Yeah. Do you know there is no succinct answer? Well, there is a definition of NLP. There's just no succinct answer that feels truly good for me. There's just not. And no matter like in all of the trainings that I've done and becoming a trainer myself, and in my prac and master prac and trainers training and the work, the books that I've read, there's just nothing that I've found that really sums up exactly what NLP is. So if we look at it from a technical perspective, if you're listening and you haven't heard of NLP before, the N is neuro, so relating to the brain. The L is linguistic, relating to our language, and programming is how we are wired and how we are programmed. So NLP, just to break it down a little bit, is all about, for me, it's the foundations of being a human being and the foundations that we're not taught. So I'll break that down a little bit. It's all about how do we think and how do other people think, and really getting an insight into that. Why are we wired the way that we are? And then utilizing language to create the reality that we so desire. So NLP can be used in all different spaces. It can be used by people that just want to expand in their own personal development and become a better human being. It can be utilized for, you might be in real estate, or you could be in your line of work, Kelly, or you might be a coach, whatever profession that you choose to be in yourself personally. It will enhance what you're already doing tenfold. It will have you be a better listener. It will have you hear between the lines of what your clients or students, whoever you're working with, is saying to you, so that you can notice by an eye pattern or by a specific language pattern what your person actually means. 7% is what we take in. Only 7% is words. So there's so much more around communication and language that we're able to take in, and NLP teaches us that. And it's so much more than that. so much more. It's who we are as human beings, how we treat ourselves, how we treat other people, how we view the world. And one of my favorite pieces of NLP, one of my favorite teachings is ecology. And for me, this is a value. And is it good for me? Is it good for others? Is it good for society? And is it good for our planet? And that's a question that I ask myself, or 4 questions I ask myself when I'm making decisions on anything in life.
I love that. And even like I've also been through NLP as well, like the master prac trainers training, and it fundamentally changed my life, saved my life. I would even go as far to say, to really be able to understand the mechanics of how I'm processing the information coming to me, what I'm making that mean, but based upon my past life experiences, decisions, beliefs, values, and then how I'm interpreting that and having it come through me as a behavior and into what I'm creating. And there is not a day that goes by where I'm not using it. And I still remember before I even did NLP, I was like, what is it? And I couldn't get it. I'm like, what is it? What is it? What is it? And I still, like you said, it is like all the definitions, you can Google it. And like you said, the neuro, the linguistic, the language and the programming, what we do with it, like you'll find all sorts of things, but until you actually do it and you start embodying it and you practice the way of being with it, like the methodologies of it, and it becomes part of your everyday life, that's when you enter into this whole space of this whole world of like what you didn't even know that you didn't even know. And that's where the power and the magic of it is. Like, it's insane. And still, I think, gosh, I've done prac now, I reckon maybe 4 or 5 times with like different places. So I've been like really indoctrinated in the basic principle tools of it. And it's so powerful. What had you fall in love with it, Ellie?
Pardon?
What had you fall in love with NLP?
I was in a space in my life. So for me, I accredit people in NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the timeline therapy is the bee's knees of everything. So I look at NLP as our foundations for who we are as human beings and how we are wired. I look at that as communication, language, like all of those different bits, those elements, and foundations for who we are as a human being. And I feel every single human on the planet should, and I rarely say should do this for themselves first and foremost. Yeah. And then the second part for me in timeline therapy, the timeline therapy is the bee's knees and hypnosis is like a cherry on top. So for me, how I got introduced to NLP was, other than knowing Tony Robbins and Tony Robbins being, NLP trained.
Yeah, man, into trance, 11-hour days.
Yeah, it's just Japanese amazing. Yeah. Other than that, for me, I didn't know a great deal about it. And I was in a space in my life. I studied pracs 6.5 years ago. So I'm coming into my 7th year, I believe. In June, July, I think will be my 7th year anniversary. I studied it that long ago. And before that, I was in such a dark place and was experiencing severe feelings of anxiety, to the point where I was driving along behind my partner at the time, driving along behind him on the highway. And my son and his son were in the car with him. And the voice and the noise in my head, just I didn't know how to turn it off. Like, it was so loud for me, and it had been going on for 4 years. And I was at that point where I was like, I just want to make the noise in my head stop. And I was like, if I just take a quick left right now and just veer off the highway at 110 k's an hour, like the fastest we can do here legally in Australia, then it would all stop. And that was a pivotal moment for me. If my son hadn't have been in the car in front of me at that point, I believe I would have taken my life at that point. It was that intense for me. And so not long after that, I bumped into my partner at the time's friend's son and his girlfriend. Never met them before. We bumped into them and they took a liking to us and wanted to catch up with us. So we caught up with them, and she had studied NLP, timeline therapy, NLP and timeline therapy. And we were talking, and she offered to do a session for me, a timeline therapy session. And it was a 2.5 hour session. And it felt like in that session that the way that I'd known myself up until that point, everything that I'd carried from an emotional perspective, it was a very specific timeline therapy process. Everything that I'd carried that had been big trauma, big emotion, big experience in my life, and the anxiety feelings just disappeared. And they didn't come back. Like, once we do timeline therapy, it doesn't come back. The feelings, the experience, doesn't matter how traumatic something's been in our life, it just doesn't come back. And it was the first time in a very long time where I felt like I could actually think, where I was clear in my being, where there wasn't the noise in my head going to extremes. And in that moment, I knew, like, I walked out a totally different person. That changed my life completely. And I just knew that I wanted to study this body of work. And I linked up with that person's trainer and studied prac. And then that trainer of mine wasn't going to teach master prac, and I pushed and she ended up teaching master prac. Wow. So I did that. I think I did that maybe 3 years later. Maybe 3 years later with her. And then I went through, one of the biggest organizations in the world to do my trainer's training. And that was just over 12 months ago now. We'll be coming up to almost a year and a half. And for me, I didn't ever think I'd become a trainer. Like I studied NLP and timeline therapy to be a better version of myself and to clear up my stuff and to just, yeah, that was it for me. Be a better parent, like myself more, that was the reason that I wanted to do that. And then it was 9 months later, I stepped into the coaching arena and I coached pretty solid for 5 years. And then one day I was just sitting there and it was like a divine intervention from source. And it was, I had this download of how do I be of greater service? How do I be of greater service than just coaching one-on-one? And the download come to become a trainer so that I could actually impact more people in one environment, and the ripple effect of that would go out to way further than what I could touch. So yeah, that's how my journey started and how I ended up where I am now.
That's incredible. And I think like mine, it's a similar kind of thing, like the noise in my head, like just how life was just getting to this unbearable point for me as well before NLP came, and it just opened so many doors. And thank you for sharing so vulnerably like what that turning point was for you, because the world's been in a pressure cooker the last few years, and anything that wasn't being paid attention to has really been brought to the surface. And this really is a beautiful way of healing and tools and modality that really helps address some of that stuff. It is profoundly life-changing. And yeah, I just really wanted to take a moment to honor the vulnerability and what you shared there. So thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Thank you. I do have an answer to your question as well in the first lot of 3 questions.
Oh, yes. Which question was that?
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I love that. I love that I was able to come back to that. And that's the unconscious mind. So we do a lot of work with the unconscious mind, as you know, Kelly, the unconscious mind in NLP. And we're not taught how to work with the unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind is it's the part of us that knows everything. It's the part of us that stores all of our memories, our experiences, and we're not able to actually access that consciously until we know how to. And even then, we still can't access the unconscious mind to the depths that we can when we work with timeline therapy and NLP. So for me, just then it's like, oh, my unconscious mind has got it, right? It's got them, whatever you just shared with the questions. It's like, okay, come back. Now we've got this piece as well. So I'm like, thanks, unconscious mind. I love how you work for me. Like it brings, yes. I remember things better now because I have this beautiful relationship with my unconscious mind where it's like, can you recall that for me? Or hold that, let's park that, let's recall that. And then it happens. So you asked me, why do I run my retreats? Why do I run my NLP trainings the way that I do?
Yes, I was literally about to prompt that.
Yeah, good.
Go your unconscious mind.
Yeah, go, little.
Go, you beautiful thing.
So this year I'm really excited to be partnering up with one of my students who went through prac with me and master prac with me and is now a trainer. We're partnering up and we're going to be doing some pretty cool stuff together. And also I run and have been running my own personalized retreats. So for me, I'm all about embodiment, and I think we can study anything, NLP included, and just notch it up as another tool in the belt and not really be embodied in that, not really have that become a part of us. It's like, I don't know about you, but I used to be someone that was like, okay, now I want to do this, and I'd just tick it off. Or I'd read a book and it'd be like, get through it as quick as I can so I could get to the next one. And I wasn't embodying anything that I was doing.
No, I had the biggest conceptual addiction. I would get high on the knowledge. I would get off on knowing lots of things. It doesn't necessarily mean that I was very good at the many things that I knew. I was just sounded really wise and really clever.
Exactly. And I got to this point where, for me, what I found was that I didn't want to be a trainer, and this is no disrespect to any trainer. Everybody does what they do in the way that they do it, and that is perfect. For me, I knew that I didn't want to be a trainer where you came into my training room and you just got a body of knowledge and you didn't implement that and you didn't embody that. You just had it, a lot of information given to you. There's a lot of information in NLP.
So much.
So much.
So much. Oh my God, so much.
So much. And for me, it was really important that that ecology piece again for me. Is it good for me? Is it good for others? Is it good for the society? And is it good for the planet? For me, it's like, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't a good enough standard that potentially students would come into an environment with me if I did it differently, and they would get a whole bunch of information, possibly be a little bit confused by how much information is there, not get the one-on-one support, and walk out going, what did I just study? And so I wanted it to be a space. I run a 9-day retreat, and I do that so there's a day off in between. I do it so that there's space for the mornings. So like, a lot of my students, they love their morning ritual, and they love to, do a bit of yoga or go for a walk to the beach. So we usually stay in beautiful spaces, and actually we've stayed in all sorts of spaces, and it's an experience every time. And I give that spaciousness. I don't want minds to be so full of information that the body can't cope. For me, the nervous system plays a good part in this as well. And NLP also works with the mind-body connection. So, I'm a living, walking, breathing example of NLP, mind-body, embodying the work that I have learned and living these values and living this way of life that, was equally as important, that people aren't just numbers to me. Yeah. Can I swear?
Absolutely. Yeah, I made it X-rated.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. So yeah. So my tagline is genuinely give a fuck. Like, I genuinely give a fuck about human beings. And for me, that comes before anything else. So yeah, the retreats allow me to have more proximity and people to have more proximity to me. It allows me to go deeper. I have a beautiful gift, which I love, of being able to see people's stuff. My sensory acuity, we call it in NLP. Like, I can see if your eye moves, if something's downloading for you. Like, I can see if you just slightly move your finger, I get the downloads of, okay, there's a trigger point here, or something's happened here. It's so slight, and I get these beautiful channeled messages around what's coming through for my students. So I'm able to see these things, pull them apart with my students, so that when they leave my training room, they are not still stuck in patterns and programs that might have been hidden if they were in a massive group environment with somebody else that wasn't me training.
So powerful.
Yeah, I think so too. I love how this downloaded
me too. Like, I still remember my trainings were that they were big rooms. It wasn't that intimate, and it is. And like, you'd watch the trainer at the front of the room, and then they would do like different NLP things, and you'd be like, oh my god, they're so magical. Like, how do they do that? And I'd be like, okay, now partner up and do this exercise with your partner. It wasn't like, not the level of it. And absolutely, you'll get results. They say, you can't fuck it up. You can't fuck up an NLP process. You can just get like good results or phenomenal results. So like, the fact that you're available for that level of detail with your students is just profound.
Yeah. And then when Jen and I, so when we've just created our own podcast, we're about to launch as well.
Oh, yay.
That's going to bring NLP a bit more mainstream. And then from that, her and I are collaborating, and we're going to be running bigger trainings. However, she's trained through me at the Prac and Master Prac level. We know what to look for. So in a big group environment, we will still bring an intimacy part that I feel is missing from a lot of big trainings.
Yeah, I agree too. And I love that you mentioned about the nervous system, because I am all about the nervous system. It has been my journey for the last couple of years of like really understanding there is such a difference from the brain's capacity to process information to the body's capacity to assimilate information. And depending upon how connected we are between our brain and body will depend upon whether we're actually even living in our body or not. And when we're taking on such big, profound bodies of work like this that are creating such fundamental changes to our internal world, our body needs time to catch up with that and to process that. So the fact that you're creating this experience in more of a titrated sense, I think is just phenomenal. Like, whether you consciously had that piece around the nervous system embodiment integration before doing it, or that was just the channel download of the best way to receive this information, is amazing. Because I still remember like receiving this information, they jam it into you. I think it was so my first one was like 4.5 days where they just jam it into you, and by the end of it, your brain's like, woo, like you're kind of a little bit off your face on information, and you can feel that your brain's being scrambled, but you don't really know what's scrambled, and you know that reality is never going to be the same, but you don't really quite know why, and you kind of like walk out like sort of between worlds, and then there's no support afterwards. It's like, off you go, figure it out, and now you can teach now you can help heal other people. And it's like, wow.
Yeah, good chance. So even that, what you just shared then, Kelly, like, it was so great to have you come into the alumni space. So for me, having that support afterwards is really important too, and having a space where my students get to interact with each other and are able to support each other with other limiting beliefs that might come up, or other just other pieces within us as human beings that can come up after master prac, that weren't cleared in that space. Like once we clear something, it doesn't need to be cleared again, and other things, like at the next level of where we're at as a human being, other stuff can come to the surface. So new stuff can come to the surface. So I wanted a space where my beautiful students had access to each other for cleanups. So they do processes with each other, and also like at no cost. It's just something they do swaps. Anything comes up, it's like, yep, we do a swap. And also where, like I run weekly calls for them, and there's a small membership fee for it. I run weekly calls. I have a guest speaker in every month, like, Kelly, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Having you come in and speak. And that's the ongoing piece for me, because when you, as you will know, Kelly, when you do NLP, you are not the same. When you study NLP and timeline therapy and hypnosis together, you can't go back to how you were. This new reality opens up where how you see the world is very different to how you'd seen the world up until the point of studying that. It kind of like makes our eyes wider and everything brighter, and there's not as much charge that used to be there. Like we don't have the same, we're not reacting to things the same. We don't have the same viewpoint on things. And, I find that when we step into that space, the people around us are often not in that space, and having a container where my girls can be around each other and still connect and still have that space of support was really important as well. So yeah, that's something that I offer as well.
Yeah, I love it. And it's not a typical thing that happens with NLP. And I want to make that clear. Anybody listening, if you think you're doing NLP, like that ongoing support is definitely something that you want there, because there is a lot with it. So now I know I'm going to like shift gears a little bit. So because obviously like we came together and we're having this conversation because I know that like I've supported you with different finance things, and then also support your beautiful clients to work with you with finance. Can you talk to us a little bit about sort of like what your personal journey has been with being able to access finance to invest in your growth and personal development, and some doors that's open for you, and then also like why you've chosen to use this to help your clients as well, and the benefits it's given them?
Perfect, thank you. I just give me a second to grab the questions, please. So I think you've also helped my family too. So yeah. It's not just my clients and not just me, it's been my family as well. There's something that like I used to have this belief around I couldn't have debt. Like I used to have this belief, and you'll know this, Kelly.
I remember.
Like, it's like, I've got to pay all this off and it has to be paid off, and I would stress myself out about it a lot. And then through multiple conversations with you, I was able to see that borrowing money from other sources is great, because I can put my money into other things. So I'm not spending all of my money on like my car or on a coaching program or whatever it is that I'm wanting to invest in. I'm able to pay things off. And sure, there's a bit of interest attached most of the time, and sometimes not. And that's okay. I'm all right with that now. So it really expanded me to be able to be open to utilizing finance, and then also to be able to put my money into other things that I want to expand in as well. And it opened possibility. Like there was no way that when I studied with one of my mentors and it was a $95,000 container, it's like there's no way I was going to be paying $95,000 outright. And I knew that I wanted to work with this coach and receive the benefits of that. So I got to grow along the journey in working with that coach and expand myself. And I still got to be able to work with her. And I still got to be able to not be stressed out about not knowing how I was going to pay for everything else. So that was a key piece for me there. Is there anything you want me to go into further?
Yeah. In being able to do that, how far do you think that accelerated your growth on your timeline by being able to do that?
Yeah, well, if I was waiting until I'd saved the money,
yeah,
I still probably wouldn't even be there, because I spend a lot of money on lots of things. So I'm like, if I had have let that excuse get in the way of, I'll just wait till I've got the money, I probably never would have worked with that coach. And I probably would have never met you then.
Yeah.
We link in the same circles. And I think, who knows, we might have and may not have. So I think, for me, it's been quite an expansive experience for sure.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And what was it that had you want to implement having finance as a payment option within your own business?
Yeah. So a couple of things. I don't mind payment plans, and I also like to be paid in full. So for me, being able to be paid in full, I thought, like that's a no-brainer as well. Not having everyone on payment plans or not having just a couple of people paying full. So that is a big plus for me. Also, I am all about my clients being in a win-win situation as well. So if they were paying me in full or they were paying me on my payment plan, it's a lot more than if they were going through you to get finance. It's a lot more out of their pocket up front. Whereas same thing, exactly, just reverse it. Exactly what I just shared about the coach that I was working with. They get to be in the position that I was in working with my coach, which to me is great. It's more expensive. There's not a stress on having to make huge repayments. The repayments are affordable. They're going through with you, Kelly. One thing that I love about you and I love about working with Roger as well, just your ethics, your morals, how you genuinely give a fuck about the people you work with. That was important to me. I'm a protective mama bear of my clients.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and my students. And it's like, if I know you're not going to rip anybody off. I know you have a genuine interest in people and in what they're doing, and you genuinely care, and that was really important to me as well. So for me, it's like that same ecology piece again. It's just win-win all round.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. And I've got there's this one fun question. It's a really fun question for me to ask that I've been asking everyone. And there's a common theme that I love about everyone I've spoken to so far and continuing to speak to, and all the amazing coaches, thought leaders, therapists, providers that we help support, is that everybody is so make a difference focused. We're all give a fuck. We really care. We want the best for anybody that comes within our sphere. We really want the best for them. Yet we all didn't start in that space where we've got the businesses that are actually making the difference and making the impact or having the clients. So my fun question to you is, and I think when other people hear our stories of how we got to the one that actually worked, how many businesses were there before you got to this one that worked? And what made this one different?
Oh my gosh, that is such a great question. So the big difference for me wasn't actually in coaching, it was another business model. And then it allowed me to work in the coaching industry. And actually you work with me too in my other business model, right? Yeah. So
yeah, we've been across a few different spaces.
Yeah, there has been. So coaching, it was the elusive 10K months when I first started. It's making these 10K months.
Promise.
Yeah, right. And so I could do that, but not consistently. It was I didn't have enough bandwidth. I didn't have enough wealth consciousness going on to be able to hold even 10K months. And then I stepped into another portion of business and another way of doing business, and my business exploded. So before that though, I did 7 or 8 network marketing businesses.
Wow.
Literally, I was looking for it. I was so hungry to find the thing that was going to support me to create a life of freedom. I had a photography business. What else did I do? I had a Reiki business, Reiki on the road. So what are we up to? We're up to 10 things already.
Yep.
I worked for other people. I'm so unemployable. That's something that's it's no thanks. I'm totally out on that. Well, that's at least 10 business models that I've worked with that I can share with you just off the top of my head. Before, and coaching, which wasn't the number one thing, and the NLP, which wasn't they're not the biggest abundance piece. They're growing as well. And it's an accumulation of all of them. Combined with all of that, that's 13 businesses.
Wow. And what made the one where you're at now? What made this one stick, and what have you had your heart be this is the one I'm putting all my energy into. This is the one that's connecting and taking off.
With NLP?
Yeah.
So there's both two businesses for me. I kind of have I had one running full time, and then I stepped out of that to begin my NLP school. And I guess for me, with both of them, if I speak to NLP, it was, I believe there's too many people in the world that think they're okay and they're not, that have feelings of anxiety and feelings of depression and feelings of burnout and overwhelm and whatever else going on in the background, that it's become normal. And that they don't see that it's not normal. It wasn't normal for me to be experiencing 4 years of anxiety in the background, near panic attacks, and my adrenal system burnt out. That's not normal. And in our society, I feel that we don't even half the time we don't even recognize. I don't believe people recognize that there is this stuff going on in the background until they have a nervous breakdown or until their adrenals just burn out so much that they can't get out of bed. Whatever it is, for me, that's not fucking okay. It's not okay that we live in a society where people are like, I'm just going to tolerate this. I'm just going to be okay with the fact that I'm really not happy. I've just got this smile on my face and I'm fucking drowning over here. That's just not okay. And for me, this body of work that I work in when I'm talking NLP is that it allows people to get out of the chains that they have in their mind. It gets them out of the cage of the mind. It gets them out of the bound chains of their past and has them, for the first time in their life, truly for the first time in their life, be able to see clearly without the past baggage. And that to me is fucking freedom. That is liberation. And I believe every human on the planet deserves to feel that.
Boom.
Boom, baby.
Wow, I felt that through every single cell of my being. So, well, which leads me to my last question, gorgeous. If anybody was looking to do NLP with you, how do they get in contact? And what's available? Like, well, what's your calendar of NLP look like this year, Allie May?
Yeah, there's quite a lot on this year in regards to NLP. So we start at the practitioner level. If you've done prac already and you are looking for a different master practitioner, then I'm happy to have a conversation as well. Or if you'd like to redo your prac, then I'm open to having a conversation also. So I have quite a lot going on this year. There's retreats, intimate retreats. There is a big group training. There's online as well. What would be the best thing is if it is something that you are interested in exploring further, I like to have a conversation and see where you're at. I like to then be able to share with you, like answer questions and share with you what it is in more detail and what you can receive for yourself. And then I like to have a conversation to see if it's a fit for both of us to work together. So the best way to contact me is through my personal Facebook page, which is Allie May. Will you have links, Kelly?
I will have links of you splattered all over.
Perfect.
So yes, there'll be a link to Allie May's Facebook page in this. It'll be on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Facebook, wherever else we put this. That link will be there. And if all else fails, private message me, send me in whatever, contact me through whatever platform you're on, and I will absolutely connect you with Allie May, because like on what you're offering, what you said there, like this whole normalization of feeling like shit, it's not normal. The normalization of having a burnt out nervous system, it's not fucking normal. Like these are not normal ways of being. And the more that we can learn how to take better care of ourselves and to create with deliberate intention the better life that we're all going to experience. Because, you know, when Michael Jackson wrote that song, Man in the Mirror, he was onto something. It all starts with this guy. Change this guy, everything else changes. So thank you so much for being with me on this episode and sharing the amazing things that you do and your journey and like the business, like the businesses before you got to this one, how finance has helped you. And yeah, it's just been a privilege and an honor. Thank you so much, gorgeous.
I love you, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me here.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Lifestyle Finance Show. If you loved this interview, please feel free to share it, because if it made a difference to you, it will absolutely make a difference to others. And if you are a coach, healer, or mentor, and you'd like to explore getting finance set up for your business so you can get paid in full from day one and financially support your clients in a far greater capacity than just your in-house payment plan, head over to my website, www.lifestylefinanceco.com, and follow the prompts so we can explore this further. Big love, beautiful soul, and thanks for the support.